The day the Society of St. Pius X consecrated 4 new bishops without papal approval, one of the Vatican's most well-known cardinals made a surprising argument. Cardinal Gerhard Müller said the Vatican should rethink its restrictions on the traditional Latin Mass. Why? Because, in his view, the restrictions have not brought unity to the Church. Instead, they may have helped the SSPX strengthen its position. Speaking in an interview published on July 1st by the Italian newspaper Il Giornale, the former prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith reflected on the growing tensions surrounding the traditional Latin Mass. He also discussed the impact of Pope Francis' 2021 document, Traditionis Custodes. That document significantly restricted the celebration of the traditional Latin Mass. The goal was to promote unity within the Church. But Cardinal Müller said the results have been disappointing. According to him, the restrictions have not had a positive effect. Instead, they have given the SSPX a powerful argument. Müller said that Lefebvrians can now point to these prohibitions as evidence of conflict with Rome. In his words, the restrictions have almost become propaganda that the SSPX can use to promote its own positions. Because of this, he believes the recent SSPX consecrations should encourage Pope Leo XIV and his advisors to reconsider the current approach. Müller argued that an overly strict response is not the Christian way. He said that using authority to demand blind obedience may work in some situations, but does not always build genuine unity. He stressed that there can be no compromise when it comes to Catholic dogma. However, he said pastoral practice is different. In practical matters, a certain degree of tolerance is possible. The cardinal also challenged a common assumption. Many critics claim that Catholics who prefer the traditional Latin Mass automatically reject the Second Vatican Council. Müller said that claim is simply false. He pointed out that loving the ancient liturgy does not necessarily mean rejecting the Council. Then he made an interesting comparison. By the same logic, he said, not everyone who prefers the Novice Ordo Mass automatically accepts the Council either. He specifically mentioned Germany. There, he said, some bishops frequently appeal to the Second Vatican Council, while at the same time denying parts of its doctrine. For Müller, the issue is much more complicated than simply dividing Catholics into traditionalists and progressives. The cardinal then looked back to Pope Benedict XVI. He praised Benedict's 2007 document, Summorum Pontificum. The document greatly expanded access to the traditional Latin Mass. According to Müller, it created peace within the Church. He said Benedict had found a balanced solution. The Church, he explained, already contains several different rites and traditions. Diversity in liturgical expression has existed for centuries. Because of that history, Müller argued that the ancient Roman rite should not be forbidden. He also emphasized that many communities celebrate the traditional Latin Mass while remaining fully united with the Pope and accepting the Second Vatican Council. These groups, he said, prove that attachment to the old Mass does not automatically lead to division. In fact, Müller believes greater freedom for the traditional Latin Mass could actually help heal divisions. He suggested that allowing wider access to the ancient liturgy while encouraging acceptance of the Council could provide a path forward. Such an approach, he said, might even help some people return to full unity with Rome after the SSPX consecrations. For Cardinal Müller, the lesson is clear. Restrictions alone have not solved the problem. If the goal is unity, the Church may need a different strategy. And that strategy, he believes, should include a renewed openness to the traditional Latin Mass.